Hi developers, Ida here. Last week I went through suburb analysis and property finding of our latest development acquisition in Dural, New South Wales. As promised, today I'm briefly going to go through the design and DA process, so stay tuned.
What we're looking at is the original site plan with the existing house over here in red. Now let's move on to the intended subdivision proposal. The dark blue line indicates the new subdivision, and as you can see, the existing house with the proposed extension is here in red. This property is in the Hornsby Shire Council, which requires a 500 metre square minimum lot size. You can see over here on lot 1, 500 metre square drawn out in aqua. This is really to indicate how this lot requirement wasn't a huge concern for us. The council requires a minimum of a 12 metre frontage. The setback requirements are 6 metres from the front boundary, 900 millimetres from the side, unless it's a second story where it has to be 1.5 metres. The rear setback also wasn't a huge concern for us, but for reference, it is 3 metres. Being an area expert, we already knew all of this was achievable at first glance. The contour lines indicate to you the intensity of the slope. In most instances, it would be quite difficult to build on this, but we were looking at the rest of the street and recognized that they all use this slope to create an architectural feature, so we aim to keep that consistency with our design as well. The existing home was built a little over 20 years ago, so when it was originally built, the bushfire compliance requirement wasn't as intense as what we deal with today. The other concern was the amount of trees around the house, which some had to be protected. In order for us to make this subdivision work, we had to increase the asset protection zone. You can see that here in yellow. Which in this case, this was based off the RFS 10/50 rule, and we were able to do some site clearing and create a wider APZ. We knew from an early stage that we need to consult with a bushfire professional and meet the BAU rating requirement. Also, to be ethical, we must replace some of the trees and plant them in a way that is more controlled in terms of fueling the bushfire environment. In most developments, we prefer them greener, but for this particular project, we really wanted to fit it in as much as we could and blend with the environment. We certainly didn't want a cinder block of a home in this beautiful landscape. The main feature of this home was the beautiful Aussie nature, so why wouldn't you continue that greenery throughout? The existing home was built in the late 80s, and when we walked through it, we recognised that many of the original features are still existing. 80s trends included a lot of cedar wood, geometric angles, and pastel colours. Our aim wasn't to take away from the existing architectural design, but rather to complement it. So we kept the geometry of the house, including the high angular ceiling, and incorporated wood finishes as a feature in other places. Some of these wood finishes, if disturbed, had to be upgraded to meet the current building code, and this feature is something we did prefer to keep, so we had to be smart about the construction program and costing.
In our opinion, the best way to execute a design specifically for development is in two ways. Firstly, by using your environment as your inspiration, and secondly, by using platforms such as realestate.com and RP Data to browse recent sales of newer built homes or renovated homes in the area. The reason being is we're trying to collect as much information as we can as to what sells best and what looks amazing. That's all for today, everyone. In the later stages of our videos, I'll go more into depth about the design, but next week, Adam's going to take you through our ethical site clearing for bushfire asset protection, so stay tuned for that. If you have any questions or queries, I'll be only happy to help. See you next time.